All right, this is a video to go back over the H stencil. The last video didn't have any audio to it, so this will probably help clear up a few problems that you may have having. All right, so OnShape is a 3D modeling program, and it is used to create the 3D model first, and then from there, all of the drawings are created from the model. So in a sense, it's backwards design. So within this program, everything starts as a document, or in this case, it's once you click on the document, it's going to ask you for a name. I'm just going to call it a stencil remake. I've already made this once before. But in your case, you can just name it H stencil. All right, so it'll take it a second to come up. All right, so you have three different planes in OnShape. You have a front plane, a right plane, and a top plane. 90% of the time, I usually work on the front plane, and in this case, it won't be any different. I'm going to work on the front plane. So across your top here, you have different tools. So you have your sketch, you have extrude, which you'll use a lot, and you have other tools such as revolve, sweep, loft, and thicken, and so forth. And you also have modify tools such as fillet, chamfer. Let me show what draft is. Well, rib, shell out, or shell, uh, hole, and a pattern. So we're not going to really be using probably any of those over there. All right, so we're going to start out with a sketch. And we're going to pick the plane that we're going to start on. And once you do that, the toolbar at the top is going to change. So it's going to move to what's called a sketch toolbar. All right, so we're going to use a little cube over here. And we're going to make a rectangle. Now we can make the rectangle any size that we want. The key to it that with this program, not like AutoCAD where you had to let go of the mouse on this one, you got to kind of hold your mouse button down in order to make an object. And it gives you some temporary dimensions that are on it. We're going to use our own. Just go by clicking on the line, and this is going to be 8-inch square. So we're just going to replace that number with an 8 and do the same thing this way. All right, so once we have that, this is going to end up being our base. So what we're going to do with our base is that we're going to extrude it. And extrude is basically turning a single line object that's connected into a 3D object. And since it's the only thing on here, most time it'll self-select it, but if it doesn't, then you can just kind of click on it. All right, so this is we're only gonna give it 1/4 of an inch. Make it that thick. In the previous video, I did 0.125. So either one will work. Since we're only gonna be showing the front view of this anyway, and 3D view. All right, so that gives us our base of our object. So we can spin it around. Let me see. There we go. So you can spin it around by using the right mouse button and holding down the shift key. So you can look at it in all different directions. And if you get lost in the space, you can always go here and put it back on isometric. And it'll put it back where you started. All right, so next we're going to do a sketch on this face surface. So we're probably going to do it on this surface more than once. And it's to get different objects going in different directions. So I'm going to make it a little bit easier. So we're just going to kind of make all of them as we go along. So we're just going to kind of start out with a couple of rectangles here. And they're not going to be that big. So those first two are squares, so they're 1/2 inch each. So you can either put in 1/2 or you can put in 0.50 for the number. And once you put the number, you hit the enter button. All right, so from here, you want to zoom in and you're going to do another rectangle. But if you line up at this point, you don't have to do the height of it. You just have to do the space and the distance. So it's going to keep the same height. So the distance in between each one of them, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 0.25. So we're going to see how this works out. I'm not looking directly at the what's the bomb number. Hit the wrong number. 25 and 1.50. And you'll just alternate between using those. So you'll just keep making new rectangles, one long, one short. And if you line up with one of the points at the bottom, you don't necessarily have to put in a height. You can just put in the length and the spacing in between. I lost track of my mouse here. So it is kind of tedious work. I'm kind of looking for a different tool up here, but I don't see it. So I'm just going to kind of continue on here. All right, so I've got a couple of more to go. So I've got one more long and one more short. I'm going to line up on my point. Use my dimension. I almost hit that one on the head. Alright, and then finally we should be able to fit one more long one right here. And we'll line up with the point again. Keep in alignment with it. And we'll put our spacing in first. If you make a mistake, just hit the escape key on your keyboard. And I did it twice. Not sure why I did it twice. There we go. And finally, 1.50. Alright, so after you have those laid out, you turn on the lamp here so I can see my keyboard. So if you have those laid out, you have the option to either go ahead and do them all the way around, or you can go ahead and finish your sketch, and then start a new row or start a new set that's going around the edge. I need to move this out of the way. It's kind of blocking my check mark here. All right, so once you do finish the sketch, if you decide to do it that way, you can actually go ahead and use your extrude tool. And you'll select each one of those rectangles. Then you'll put in the distance that you're going to add to. So I'm going to choose new instead of add. I could have used add, but I'm just going to use new so to give it a different color. And I'm going to change the thickness 1/8. Move that out the way. And hit the OK. So then you're able to see the difference in that. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of them. I'm going to end the video right here. So I'm going to do all of them all the way around, and I'm going to come back and show you how to do the H. Oh, so before I close out, you will start a new sketch to do the rest of them. So you just simply click on the same surface, put it to the front, and you can start out lining up on the edge. You can even kind of calculate the numbers and get pretty close to it by watching the numbers, and then real all you need is as before. The spacing in between each, if you're able to grab it. Sometimes it's a little. All right. And you'll do the same thing going all the way down the bottom, and you'll do the same thing on the bottom, you'll do the same thing on the right side, and then that'll give you everything that you need around the edges.